Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. Today we've got another video in our series on the admirals of Battleship New Jersey. Today we're going to be talking about Vice Admiral Charles Wellborn Jr., who was the fourth and final admiral to command fleets from Battleship New Jersey. The other three are, of course, Admiral William F. Halsey with 3rd Fleet, Admiral Raymond Spruance with 5th Fleet, and Admiral Jocko Clark with 7th Fleet. Admiral Wellborn commanded 2nd Fleet from Battleship New Jersey in 1955. Admiral Wellborn was born in Los Angeles in 1901, and he joined the U.S. Navy out of high school by getting an appointment to the Naval Academy in 1917. After a year at the Naval Academy, he did a summer cruise on the battleship Missouri BB-11 in 1918 during World War I, which was very common for officers at that time. Battleship Missouri was something of the designated gunnery and engineering training ship in the Chesapeake for much of her later career. And so a number of future naval commanders would serve on board her. He graduated from the Naval Academy in 1920, and like so many young officers during this time, he saw a series of assignments to battleships. First, the battleship New Mexico, a relatively new ship at that time, and then the slightly older Nevada. In 1926, he returned to the Naval Academy for postgraduate work in which he became an ordnance expert. After that, he was assigned to admiral staffs on board both the battleship West Virginia and the battleship California. So far that's 5 battleships and no other ships in his career. From 1933 to 1936, like most ordnance experts, he served with the Bureau of Ordnance. And then after that, he was made the commanding officer of the destroyer USS Perry, of all ships, an old 4-stack destroyer. Very common for junior officers to cut their teeth on these ships in the interwar period. It's just interesting that Wellborn went from a series of battleship commands to a destroyer seemingly out of the blue. From his command of the destroyer, he was made navigating officer of the old light cruiser Concord, a 4-stacker in her own right. And then from there, he was made the gunnery officer for the commander of the cruisers for the battle forces on board USS Honolulu, which finally a relatively new ship, but another light cruiser nonetheless. As World War II began, he took over command of Destroyer Division 16, doing anti-submarine work in the Atlantic. And then he went on to participate in the amphibious landings on Sicily, Italy, and then other amphibious operations in the Pacific. And he earned 3 Legions of Merit for his participation in these invasions. In 1944, he spent a year as the Director of Personnel for the Navy. And then at the end of his assignment there, he directed himself to take command of the battleship Iowa, which had just finished a major yard period and was about to participate in the occupation of Japan. After a couple of months commanding Iowa, he was made a rear admiral, and he switched over to Battleship New Jersey, also participating in the occupation of Japan as a staff member for Admiral Towers. He had a couple of other staff positions with the Chief of Naval Operations and SINCPAC, and eventually crossed the continent again to the Atlantic and became the commander of cruisers and destroyers in the Atlantic from 1947 to 1951. After that, he took over as the commander of 2nd Fleet, which also made him the commander of NATO's striking fleet. And during this time, he again served on board Battleship New Jersey, but this time in command of a fleet. And with his fleet, he did a training exercise in the North Atlantic, which took them to Lisbon, Portugal, Scotland, and Oslo, Norway, where Crown Prince visited the ship. He went on to the Armed Forces Staff College in Norfolk, and from that position, he was promoted to command the Eastern Sea Frontier, which was a older command that no longer exists today, but it accounted for 40 states and the sea zone going out hundreds of miles out from them, primarily in the Atlantic. And that command also meant he was in charge of 3rd Naval District, which covers much of New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. He was in command of the Atlantic Reserve Fleet, which I believe Battleship New Jersey was entering around that time. This would be 1957. And also the New York Navy Yard, which includes the Naval Weapons Station at Earl, New Jersey. So he was wearing multiple hats under that command, which was nothing new to him. At this point in his career, he's been a vice admiral for a while, and Admiral Wellborn is maybe one of the most relatable admirals on Battleship New Jersey. He's not widely known, which sort of gives him an everyman quality. He had a wife, Jerry, and 2 daughters who both married naval officers. He was super into sports cars. He bought a red Porsche while he was participating in the occupation of Germany, and the Germans had no speed limit, although the occupation forces did, a speed limit of only 50 miles per hour. And apparently he became so acquainted with the Army MPs racing his sports car around Germany that he was made an honorary MP himself. He had a card and everything. When he moved back to the United States and took over a series of admiral commands, he traded in the red Porsche and got a slightly more dignified vehicle, a blue Porsche. And he and his wife participated in car shows for much of his life. Another thing I find really relatable about Admiral Wellborn is he doesn't have a Wikipedia article, just like you or me. He's a very experienced naval commander, but he doesn't hold any high ranks during actual wartime. He participates in World War I, but he's too young to have his own command at that point. He participates in World War II, but he's just a little bit too young to be one of the fleet admirals then. And in the post-war years, when he is a fleet admiral, of course, there isn't any fighting going on, so we don't know much about him. Another interesting fun fact about Admiral Wellborn is he succeeded Admiral Woolridge as commander of Second Fleet. Admiral Woolridge was one of Battleship New Jersey's captains. And so you can see that the naval services are pretty small as you get towards the top. And it's very common for someone to go from commander of a battleship to start going through the various admiral ranks and get to fleet command, particularly at that time. Hey, if you're a Wikipedia editor, we encourage you to give Admiral Wellborn a Wikipedia page. Who's your favorite admiral who served on board Battleship New Jersey? Let us know in the comment section down below for a future admirals video. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of businesses and individuals like yourselves. In particular, it's the donations we've gotten from viewers like you that have allowed us to go from making 1 video a week to multiple. And that's really helped us making videos like this a larger part of our jobs here at the museum. If you would like to continue to support us, there's a link in the description below for ways you can help out. And as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe so that you're notified when all of these new videos come live. Thanks for watching.